Hi guys, welcome back. My name's Hunter, and this is Zach.
And this is our best guess.
All right.
So I'm taking the lead on this one a little bit because I don't really I don't have an answer for this, and I just kind of want to talk about this. Um, Identity politics. So
I'm not really still very sure about what that overall means.
so the way I see that meaning is usually people of like a specific race or religion or like usually a sexuality like an LGBTQ community thing or like something they view all of their politics through that lens as their identity. They identify as that. They use their identity to sort of make these niche groups that then they do politics on. So everything is based around those like factors. But the issue that I'm having is for me, I base a lot of my politics on economics, on sort of like global relations, on a lot of different the environment, individual freedom, and I don't disagree with any of these people. Like I hear this a lot, especially for like how Trump was just in office. They're like, he wasn't for transgender rights. And you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? And you're like, I people can't really explain it. They say, oh, he didn't allow them in the military, and like there's other things, but I don't know what the other things are. Like that's the only example I've heard, and
I honestly don't. I mean, I can understand why someone would, I guess, pursue identity politics. Is that the right use of that?
so that's good that you say that because when I hear a lot of like right people talk about it, they view it as a negative, and the reason they view it as a negative is because they don't think it's right for people to sort of reduce themselves to just themselves being an identity. They think that you should be more of an individual and like be your own thing.
I mean, isn't that technically, I guess, isn't that an
It's self
individuality?
identity. Yeah,
Yeah, like
it's
that
it's
is
self.
expressing themselves as an individual. I don't understand why that's an issue.
Well,
I mean,
where it becomes an
overall,
issue is because they use it as like it becomes tribal. It becomes politics, becomes identity politics to where that one aspect of their identity is made the entire identity, and then all of their politics are based around just that.
so is the issue that they're like, I guess, excommunicating other people because they don't agree with that singular identity? Is that the issue? And
A
so
little
like
bit, yeah. So like,
basically abortion. If you don't believe in abortion, then
right,
you're not a
right.
part of my
You're
political
not a
group.
part of any political group, exactly. So, um,
I mean, I can sympathize with
and
that
and
idea.
actually I agree, and so I actually changed this viewpoint recently because we were talking to our coworker. I was talking to our coworker, and she asked. Well, first she asked me. She's like, um, "So what do you think about LGBTQ rights?" And I thought that was weird because I have nothing against them. Like my brother's gay. My brother-in-law is a female to male transgender. Like I have no malintent towards any
Right. I mean,
LGBTQ people. I have no ill feelings. I support it. Like I love that we live in America where you're free to express yourself in any way that you want.
no, I fully agree with that. I don't. I can understand why someone would ask that. Like, are you for or against LGBTQA
But
rights?
in the
But
context of what we were talking about, I don't see how.
right, I was gonna say, but it's a contextual thing. Like, you need to know the broad spectrum of somebody's political identity
Right.
overall before you start asking specifics. Like,
Right.
I
And
could see why, like, even two people in, say, let's say a democratic, conversation,
mhm.
and they perhaps don't even ask because they assume that you would be for the same things I am, but that
Right.
doesn't have to be correct, and I
Right.
don't know why.
And I think that people. So yeah, before I was in the same boat of like what I normally hear on the right is like don't reduce yourself to a single thing of your identity, but if that is how you identify, like if that's the sort of like tribe that you want to be a part of, then it makes sense for you to uphold those interests.
No,
But
I think that makes a lot of sense
and
because
and
it's the
it
crux of the issue for you, and that's
right exactly
we have a
that's
representative
like
politics system.
so for like me, I have certain things that I enjoy, and my politics are based like those are at the heart of those politics. So the issue that I'm having is I'm trying to figure out how to make my political view more palatable to people of different races, you know,
You're trying to like see if you can get your political view across
to other
to
people
those.
without them feeling alienated, because I don't know why they feel alienated from a lot of these political viewpoints in the first place, unless they're specifically being told that like my viewpoint just doesn't like them.
I mean, yeah, that is a huge issue in politics overall. Is that a lot of people assign hate to each other.
Yeah.
They say Democrats hate guns
Mhm.
and Republicans hate gays, and that's just how it is. But I mean that obviously, like I said earlier, can't all 100% be true.
Right.
Even
Right.
it may
Exactly.
not even be true on a broad scale, and I'm very concerned about that portion of, I guess we would call identity politics,
Hmm.
assigning hate to somebody for being on the other side of the aisle.
Exactly.
Actually alienates them from coming to your side, saying like, "Oh, you hate abortion, I hate you."
Hmm.
But
Exactly.
they may be for abortion. I mean,
And I so this is kind of like this is a little bit of me just kind of like calling out to all these different groups, like any group really, like
calling them out or calling out to them.
calling out to them,
Okay.
like not like calling out to them, like
Yeah, that's what I
not
wanted
call,
to clarify.
I'm not calling them out. I'm not like
I don't want to make this some sort of like attack show.
No,
We're just
I'm
like,
not
you know what?
attacking
You
anyone.
I really hate.
no, I'm not trying to hate on anyone. I'm trying to like sort of get across to multiple different people. Like I don't care about your race. I want to find common ground. I
I
don't
feel
care
like I
about
still don't. I mean, I get that a lot of politics is older now. Like a
Yeah.
lot of politicians are easily over 60, 70,
yeah.
which is an issue because it's misrepresenting, the
All
younger generation.
exactly. It's
Which-
super like I think racism's horrible, and I don't really know anyone who thinks that racism is a good thing. I don't know anyone
No,
who
I
would
don't know.
support a racist like at all. And yeah, like you said, it's a lot older people in politics, and a lot of these older people are just spouting things that they used to be true. Like they used to see tons of racism, and there might still be individual cases of racism, and if there is, like I want to get rid of that. That sounds horrible.
Obviously. Yeah, no, I mean societal racism is an issue to a lot of people, and I do feel like there are definitely places in society where racism is
So
more rampant.
if
But
there are places like societally, like governmentally, that are racist, I would need to have that pointed out because I need to know where. So the area where I see it being actually racist is with a lot of drug law, and the way that people sort of say that drug law is racist is they say that more black people are arrested on lower crimes of drugs like possession. It could be trumped up to intent to distribute,
Right.
and which is a federal crime.
and I've heard that as well.
And I've heard that as well too. But what a lot of these sort of people are missing is the drug that's being like persecuted. So for the black community, a lot of these drugs that are having mass incarceration around is like crack, but they don't have the same around methamphetamine. Then you see on the white spectrum, you see the same level of like persecution for meth. So for me, I don't really see that as like a race
I mean,
division thing.
is that true by numbers, or is
That's
it
true,
because
but it's true by numbers because the reason crack is persecuted the way it is. So first, with crack, it's worse of a punishment than cocaine because it's seen as like more potent, or like you need less of it to have whatever. So it's easier to get that intent to distribute charge. Same with methamphetamine.
I mean, that kind of makes sense, but I'm still not sure it's true by numbers, by population. Like,
Well, the
I know that
crossover
they're-
that you see is
so that doesn't explain, I guess, is my question, why there are more people and why this applies to identity politics.
well, this applies to identity politics is because a lot of the crossover happens with. It's not necessarily a black or a white thing. It's like a poverty thing. So that's where the
Right.
biggest numbers come from. Is all these people that are being incarcerated are usually from low income neighborhoods, and it's extremely. The prosecution is extremely tough, especially on drug laws. So for me, one of the ways that I can see like reducing that sort of like governmental racism, like if we're okay, so first I'll concede that sure we can say that that's, governmental racism.
Right.
Well, then let's just get rid of a lot of things like
Drug laws.
Drug law really
Yeah.
is.
You've talked about this before. You have a pretty radical idea for that, and which I agree with. Just for the record, I do agree the decriminalization of all drugs is important, and I think it's racism based. I mean, poverty. Yeah, I definitely agree with. It's definitely a poverty thing, but I'm not sure if it's intentionally racist. And somebody's going to get mad at me for this, but
right.
I don't know if it's intentionally racist or if it's intentionally elitist, if that makes sense.
It's intentionally elitist in the sense of like class division.
Exactly.
And then what people miss is there's a larger percent of the black community in poverty than the white community, but there's still the white community in poverty.
Oh yeah.
And that's an issue. Like I don't think neither one of those communities should be in poverty, but then one of the things that I agree with politically is let's talk about the issues that are causing those communities to be in poverty. And I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to hear like what people think, and it could be even those drugs. Like if people think it's drug related, right? Because I don't think the laws are the things that are. I mean, I think that mass incarceration is contributing to that sort of thing, but then even further than that, when it comes to like drug addiction or drug selling, that is something that we would need to address on a personal, moral level.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the war on drugs was a intentionally racist to a degree, elitist for sure.
Yeah,
because you're not gonna catch the billionaire doing cocaine in his giant mansion. You're just not going
exactly.
to. But you are going to catch people dealing drugs on the street.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier. There's cops everywhere. You can drive down in some of the neighborhoods here and find drug deals. I've lived here for a long time. I've seen way too many drug deals. I've been a part of them.
I've when I was younger, I sold drugs. I sold like.
This is an admission.
No, it's in the past,
right?
And
no,
it's like
definitely
it's psychedelics. Past. It's not like real drugs.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
But like, so with these communities, they talk about like either whether it's LGBTQ or different races talking about their communities. They have their interest in mind, which it's like okay, if that's how you're going to identify yourself rather than as an individual or as a whatever, I understand that, because then you need those interests in mind whenever when you're talking about politics, right?
Right. I'd see that.
So
though I can see an issue where you would sort of put blinders on to the rest of the issues.
Right. And that's the issue that I'm having is I want to reach out to a lot of these types of communities and sort of bring them over and see how, because so let's actually bring up that blinders thing. When you have those blinders on, and a lot of these communities, what I see is they're just instinctively voting left or voting like Democrat, because the Democrats like to use identity politics to just say like, we're for you, we're for this, we're for that, and then
which is a dangerous playing.
It's dangerous because then you say, okay, well, how are you for me? Like, what are we doing for this? And then you see people like Kamala Harris, who are responsible for something like the 1986 crime bill, which was involved with criminalizing or having harsher punishments for certain drugs. And that leads to actual racist, like, mass incarceration.
Right. No, there's, and it's a dangerous thing to do, and you would vote just for one cause, voting for abortion just because you can, and without knowing who you're, putting in office.
Exactly. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how to get to that middle area of.
Your issue is important, but you also have to know.
But you have to know the entire field, right? And like the issue that I'm having is. It's hard to debate with certain left like arguments, because it's very much like candy. Like it's very like, oh, I'm for this, like I'm for trans rights, or I'm for LGBTQ rights, and then okay, well, what you're saying with that argument is that inherently I'm not for those things.
Right.
But the issue is the way that you're labeling all these different rights is you're saying that like, okay, trans rights, something that is a right on the Democrat side is you should be able to get hormone or hormone treatment and whatever just because on government dime, really, is like just because it's considered like mental illness under that, and then that's healthcare, which then should be provided by the government. When my side is I'm more right, I feel like one of the issues with that whole thing is we should just open up the drug trade entirely. You should be able to get the hormones yourself, be able to
right without jumping through the excessive amount of hoops.
With all the jumping through all the hoops, exactly. Like you should just be able to be free to be who you are.
No, I fully agree with that. I think
modify your body in however you feel necessary.
And I think it's deeply insulting to put that under the classification of mental illness overall. I mean, if you are sure yourself, I could understand maybe a psych evaluation, but they do that for all kinds of things. They do that if you're on constant pain meds. They'll tell you, hey, you need a psych eval, or you need to go see a doctor and talk about this. Like,
right, exactly. So
but that's just regular medical treatment, not, hey, you need to do this, prove to me that you actually are transgender. Like that's wrong.
And that's tough because like and
I don't.
I want to have those freedoms for those people, but on that same that same coin is, I don't want to have to pay for those procedures. Like I don't want to, like I have my own struggles. Like something I say a lot is, and it's pretty adamant on the right, is taxation is theft. Like,
taxation is theft.
And because honestly, that's like Social Security is supposed to be like our retirement. Like we pay into it and then we're gonna get out of it or whatever.
Oh God, I wish.
That's the biggest that's the biggest thing you can point to on how inefficient government is. So even if you were to like,
I don't understand why people would want the government to handle something sensitive like that for them. Like that seems scary to me. Exactly. I wouldn't trust the government to do that.
Because then they're gonna be like, okay, well, are you really doing this, or like, are you really that?
Yeah, and then
there's gonna be all those hoops again.
Yeah. And
instead, you should focus on that. If that's part of fulfilling your life, you should focus on that, and you should focus on finding purposeful and meaningful work for yourself to be able to pursue those goals all on your own, and then you have that like accomplishment for your life. And what that does is that doesn't stress the tax system. That doesn't stress someone like me, an average taxpayer, where that's my only issue with it is I don't want it to be on my dime for you to like, even if you weren't like a transgender.
These, like identity politics affect taxes in a very broad spectrum.
Exactly, and that's my issue is a lot of these identity politics going towards like the Democrats or whatever is for social programs that are inefficient, and really they don't help those communities. They're really the reason they're inefficient is because they're corrupt.
Oh yeah,
they use a lot of that.
What was that movement where they made a bunch of neighborhoods? I can't remember what the hell it was called. They made a bunch of neighborhoods for the impoverished community, and they ended up being impoverished communities. Like, it didn't help anybody.
It literally just kind of separated them into their own.
It was basically a segregation movement without being named such.
And that's what's like nasty about it is they'll say like, oh, we're for you, we're for this identity, we're for this, and then they'll use your sort of like surface level support to then use their actual political power to do corrupt
platforms
things.
To do messed up stuff.
Right.
I mean, I'm still for social programs, but I do agree a lot of them just don't freaking work, and they need to be fixed before we start adding more social programs to help people.
Exactly. So I'm not necessarily against social programs, but I think it's important to first fix our debt. Like, you can't pay for something with money you don't have.
Oh yeah, we're spiraling out of control, especially with the C word going around. Like, it's just not.
The coof.
The coof.
So, first, like, I want to say that I support a lot of those communities. I don't.
Right.
I don't know. Like, there's no one I don't support besides like communists, like Marxists. But like.
All our communist friends out there are gonna
but like pissed. Communists don't like gay people anyway. Like, I mean, they're not.
I don't think it's necessary. Like, communists in the past don't like gay people. I think you could be a person who is a communist and supportive of LGBTQA+.
Yes, you can. But like,
friggin' Red Scare Zach over here.
Marxism, so like literally just redistributionism. I don't think it works.
We need to define redistributionalism, by the way.
It's taking money and redistributing it to
As we were saying, taxation is theft. This is an extreme case of redistributing, excusing, money in a, I guess in a communist, in a social way.
In a social way, right.
Which is not necessarily a good thing overall. It has really detrimental impacts to, especially free market specifically. Like it doesn't have.
It doesn't, because part of the reason is it's inefficient. So
it's highly inefficient. You have different works that.
Usually, you're taking out more than you're putting in, and that's where like inflation comes in. Like it just doesn't. You have to keep...
And it's usually managed by a government, which also takes its cut.
Right.
If you will.
It's flowing through a system that the more it flows through it, the more it's getting taken out of, because we got to handle this money.
You see 30 cents for every dollar.
Right. Exactly. So again, and even with communists, like I'll talk to communists. Like I want to know how we can.
I don't think I know anybody who's a communist.
I have friends that are like socialists and. Like genuinely Marxists. I don't know if they're so far as communist, but definitely Marxists. Right. And
I can understand, again, the principles of these things work on paper. We've always acknowledged that the principles work, but the execution will never work because there are bad people. There are corrupt people.
There are corrupt people.
Corrupt governments specifically all over.
And corrupt people will like tell you nice things. They'll tell you like what you want to hear.
Right.
Like, because, hey, we're gonna give you free stuff.
It's called this new thing lying.
It's called lying, yeah. And like that's what's hard about me talking about my politics a lot is I don't lie.
When we first met, I thought your politics were wildly disagreeable until you started like breaking it down. But to be fair, you have had some opinion changes here and there. You are really good about making sure you're
right.
You know,
I'm also very like you said, I'm willing to change my opinion, but like I'm very honest about what I feel, because at the end of the day, I grew up. We grew up in Albuquerque. It's not. We don't have that. It's not.
Shit, we're gonna get dogs.
We're not gonna get dogs. They won't know where we are.
At this address.
At this address of I don't even.
You don't even know the address.
Yeah, I don't know the address. But like, we're not. Okay, Albuquerque or New Mexico in general is 48th in healthcare, 49th in economic stability, and 50th in education.
50th in violence too.
No, we're like
first in violence.
We're first in violence. Yeah.
I mean, it depends on how you're scaling that. Is 50th like last place, or is 50th?
50th is last place. So we're number 1 in car thefts.
By a lot. Every year I've had something stolen from me. I've had a bicycle stolen. I've had my car stolen temporarily. I've had a motorcycle stolen. I've had people break into my house. And these are all different places. I don't live in the same place like every year. I move every year.
Yeah. So this isn't like the silver spoon up our ass.
Yeah,
talking.
we're down.
And that's one reason why I don't lie, is because a lot of people who are like trying to just kind of get control over whatever, they'll just say like nice things. They'll be like, oh, blah 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 blah. I'll do this for you.
It happens here all the time.
It happens here, especially for like I worked for Cutco. And like they were like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make you rich, and you don't gotta do nothing. Like you just gotta like just go out every day and sell these knives. But basically, like it's just me. Like I wasn't like it was.
They're decent knives. It's just
they're very nice knives. But basically, their whole platform is they hire these rich kids from like Rio Rancho. They go out and they sell out to their family, because their family's like, oh yeah, of course we'll buy from you or whatever. And then they can't sell to anyone else, because you're not allowed to just walk door to door and sell them. You can't like
you can't go door to door with.
No, you can't.
That's funny.
Which sucks, because if you could, I would, and like I would probably be a lot more successful in it. But like they basically just want you to sell to your family, because they know that they're.
For anybody who doesn't know what Cutco is, it's a pyramid scheme. So somebody hires Zach, they get money for hiring Zach. Mm-hmm. They also get money per his sales, and then the person who hired them gets money per every sale. I get like zero, yeah. Yeah, and basically he gets, like I said, 30% for every
and a lot
dollar.
of time wasted, yeah.
A lot of time wasted.
Yeah.
A lot of people here were really into doing the pyramid schemes. I can't remember the other one, that water thing.
Oh yeah,
really
like
funny.
the clean water.
Yeah.
Not clean water, soft water.
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
But like, so for me, I really view like for work, there's no easy way out. There's no cut code that's gonna be like, here, we're just gonna make you rich. Like you gotta put in the work every day for yourself, for your personality. Like if you want to be in shape, if you want to like have a nice job, if you want to have a relationship, it's a lot of work. And like
the same thing goes for politics.
The same thing goes for politics. Like it's not just vote for me and then this new era of peace is gonna come in. It's vote for me and there's gonna be.
I think a lot of the problems that we keep talking about are because of hyper idealism that's rampant.
Exactly.
Nowadays.
Because people think as soon as their ideals are met, that it's just that's it. Like we're heaven now.
Right. Now it's not how the world is going to work. There's always going to be issues, and you're always going to have to address new problems, old problems. Every problem under the sun is still going to be a political issue at some point or another.
And even then, like it's going to take time. Even if there's a new issue,
absolutely.
It's going to take time to figure it out and fix it.
Which makes it all the more important that we actually bridge the gap over the aisle and not separate it. Because as soon as you change politics, who has more sway in politics, it starts undoing those idealism things that you've built up for so long.
Right.
And that neither side wins in that aspect. And so when you talk about identity politics, it's very divisive. You don't want divisiveness in your politics. You want to be as unified, as agreeable as possible.
Right.
And I can understand, some people, like, again, we go back to abortion. It's very black or white, for, against.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guns are a lot about that way. People address guns in a very black and white manner, like no more guns or all to guns to everyone. But,
exactly.
I mean, there's got to be a common ground somewhere. There just has to.
There has to be common ground because, like, with things like abortion, like that's above my pay grade. I can't talk. I literally can't. I don't know. I don't know how to talk about it.
I mean, I try not to bring it up to people unless they bring it up to me. I am for abortion. I mean, again, I have this like very hands off. Like, dude, yeah, go have fun.
It's
like,
it's
a big deal, and it's a very important decision that you need to make, not me. Like,
yeah,
you go handle that. I don't want to deal with it. I don't even want it in my politics. I think it's annoying as hell. Because, yeah, you should be able to do that. It's a free freaking country.
It's a morality thing. It's
I mean,
like,
I get that it's a morality thing for some people, but it's your morals.
Right, exactly. Like it on paper, it's just killing a baby. But at the same time, it's your choice of whether or not you want to do that.
Right, and there's many, many, many more complicated things that go into that I don't want to know about. I don't want to know about your life. Bro, if that's your choice, go bananas. Like,
yeah.
It's not...
But that's why I don't like the whole, like,
me.
safe, legal, and rare thing. Like, if it's safe and legal, why does it need to be rare? Like, just...
That's just one of those freaking slogans that people came up with.
Like...
It makes me uncomfortable when people make up those slogans and they stick around for so long,
right.
And then it affects future politics.
Yeah, because then they're like, "Oh, we want it to be rare. Like we don't want it unless it's this situation." But then
you have
the majority of the situations that are being, that they're happening under are not those niche situations that they're advocating for, and it's like, fine if that's what you're doing, but like advocate it honestly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like we need to bring honesty back into politics, into personal politics. People need to be open and honest, and be able to be open and honest about their politics.
Because like even if like a woman said like, yeah, I want to kill my babies, like there's gonna be a dude out there who's like, sweet, like I can marry that woman still.
Yeah.
So like you're not gonna alienate yourself that much, really, by being honest.
Being honest is really what's gonna connect you more with people, and if the more open and honest you are, the more people can understand your point of view, instead of approaching a situation like, oh, well, you don't agree with me, I hate you, just why don't you agree with me? Or okay, let's have a discussion about
because let's figure out, because like the last podcast we had was on environment, and like we came to an agreement. We have different viewpoints, but like one of the places we can agree on is nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Like fixing this broken infrastructure that we have for power
Agreed.
into something new. Like
Let's talk
new.
about the fix then. What's the fix for politics? I'm personally I'm super anti bipartisan. I freaking hate bipartisanship.
The fix for politics is like
we need more diversity, more parties, and more available options.
Definitely.
Because
so like for me, I'm trying to create like a grassroots political party. I don't know what it's called yet. I think it's gonna be more like the Yellow Party or whatever.
Right, some
because
other color. Because
I'm very radical anarchist, more laissez-faire capitalism. That's lower taxes.
I still love that you include anarchist in your political party. It's deeply ironic, and you know that, right? It's like insultingly ironic. You're like, no, I'm trying to create an anarchist political party.
It is ironic.
Every anarchist that's ever going to hear this hates you right now.
Yeah, well, okay, so then I'll say libertarian. Like, it's...
But see, that's a dangerous word in and of itself. Once you say you're a libertarian, you're an automatic label for some very serious random hate.
It sucks, and that's what sucks about, like, the anarchists who are like, no, bro, it just means, like, there's no government whatsoever. Like, dude, if you're going to be taken seriously as a political party, you have to take into account, like, just, like, the minimum amount of government. But even, like, a social government, which a lot of anarchists advocate for, is still a government. Like, they're still governing, like, forces.
No, I agree. I've had this argument with people before. You can't take away the government because then little mini governments would pop up, even if it's just, the mayor or the sheriff.
Or the king. Or the king. Or the apocalyptic tribe leader. Like,
yeah, the band of raiders.
It's going to be there. So, like, if there's any anarchists pissed off by me, like, fuck yourselves. I
You're so charming sometimes, Zach. Just go fuck yourself.
Because, like, seriously, I could... Because, like, are you seriously going to be that idealistic of, like, no, we should just have no government whatsoever? Like, you need it to... Again, so if we're going to talk about identity politics, I'll talk to my identity specifically. Like, my sort of niche group. Like, guys, we... Like, stop being so unreasonable.
Just telling all anarchists to be more reasonable.
Yeah.
That's funny. No, but, yeah, I agree. We'd need more, or I not agree, I think we need more political parties. We need vastly many more political parties. Yeah. Because it's options. And I don't understand why people only want to vote red or blue.
Yeah.
There's that stupid fear of, if I vote, green, red's gonna win. Like, well, that's not how politics should work.
Yeah. Or like, that's when identity politics comes back in with like the abortion thing. It's like, oh, well, I'll vote green, but they're for abortion. I don't know if Green's for abortion or not.
I don't think so.
But okay, let's say they're not.
Maybe they are, yeah. I don't know what the Green Party does anymore. Do they even exist anymore?
I don't know. The Green's Party is a joke. Don't vote for the Green Party. Vote for my party.
I wouldn't choose yellow, by the way. It's a terrible color.
You don't like yellow?
No.
Well, I wouldn't be the yellow party. I'd probably be like the nuclear party or like something. I don't know, like something fun.
Just like a lime green.
No, it'd be the color would still be yellow, but
nuclear sludge. That would be like a funny. Shut up, Zach. You don't know what you're talking about. Let me do all the advertising. You just sit down. But I hate bipartisanship. It's obviously extremely divisive. If we're talking about solutions for politics in general, for identity politics, for people putting on blinders, that to me seems like a really great first step at least.
To put up blinders?
No. To diversify the parties.
Oh, okay.
Don't put up blinders. Don't ever blind yourself to information.
So, okay, maybe that's... So you're asking for, like, how do we fix that? For all the people who are, like, really into identity politics, like all the anarchists that I was just talking to, where, like, you said, oh, they don't like government, but then I'm advocating for an anarchist government. Like, okay, I have these idealistic views, but then, like, people just need to know what they believe. So with people who are very idealistic on one topic, you need to figure out the entire...
You need more topics,
need more topics, yeah. You need to figure out the list of topics, and then when you can start to... You can even use your first identity, the identity that you most want to see survive. You even use that as the heart of it, but then you look at the other topics...
And look at who you're voting for.
Look at who you're voting for. Look at what you're voting for. Because it's not just like, vote for me and I'll cure poverty. Because that doesn't work. Like, they're going to put in specific policies that have effect on taxes, on zoning laws, on like everything.
Everything, yeah.
Like
They're going to vote and have their own voice for the policies that they put out there, and nobody looks at who the hell they're voting for. Like you mentioned earlier, Kamala Harris had a huge hand in extremely harsh,
mass incarceration.
over harsh.
I would say like mass incarceration.
Yeah, she was a huge fan of the more increased drug punishments
Mandatory minimum sentencing
of like 5 years or some crazy crap.
And the reason for that is because a lot of prisons still use prisoners as labor.
Oh yeah.
So if you can criminalize everything and then get more and more criminals into the prison system, that's free labor. So then she comes in and says, "Well, now you have to be here for a mandatory amount of time of this minimum amount of time for it to be used by us." Basically, that's new slavery. It literally is like modern day slavery. Neo-slavery. Post-slavery.
Oh my God, no. But yeah, no, that there are a lot of politics that are really important to know. Even if you don't like them, you should know both sides. You should understand and maybe even sympathize with both sides, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. That toxic ass.
Right, and that's why we get along so well, is because we're willing to listen. Like I said, I'm laissez-faire, anti-redistributionism, but you're more redistributionism.
Definitely.
And like what we're able to do when we talk about this is come to a middle agreement of like, okay, where can we agree on things to help both of us out?
Right. Where would be a good compromise?
That's an interesting thing, because like if there's a compromise that elevates both of us, it gives us a new angle to then, like, new tools to manipulate the solution,
right,
to get over it.
Really get the job done, which is unfortunately something our politics currently aren't doing. They're not getting any job done, as far as I understand.
No.
Identity politics, huh? I can scarcely believe that we're really talking identity politics, to be honest with you, because it's such a weird topic that no one really actively
people
thinks
usually
about.
talk about identity politics in like the negative, saying that like you shouldn't talk
shouldn't be that way.
But or like you should, and then because you should vote for this person. Like, vote for whoever you want, but really what we should start doing with identity is, so like, I guess I'm trying to figure out, do I need to create an identity around like a new identity for politics, to where like this is the more intellectual, like I don't
think you can go off the intellectual thing, because that's extremely elitist. Like, we're just the smarter party.
We're just the smarter people. Exactly. Like, I don't know how to create an identity without like.
I mean, nuclear identity isn't a bad idea either, but I don't know how many people you'd get behind that idea.
Yeah, because like.
Creating identity politics out of nuclear energy is going to be a difficult thing, because most identity politics is, social or ethnic based, which I guess is still social, yeah. Nah.
I think we're...
Know who you vote for.
Know who to vote for, like...
know your politics.
Start figuring out, like, what you actually... And when we say know your politics, like, seriously, figure out what the specifics are. The devil's in the details. Like, you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, figure out what the specifics of what you're voting on is for. And then
it's important for you and your neighbor. All politics is representative. If you are in a minority, sometimes you're gonna lose. But you can represent that. You can try and change people's minds about your politics. Mm-hmm. But you have to be willing to have a conversation with people who you have labeled as haters. Like, you just gotta be how it is.
And on that note, I think we're starting to reach the end.
Yep.
But before we go, I do have just a question to throw out into the internet.
Oh dear. These are always toxic.
Our furry is part of the LGBTQ.
Holy crap.
Because like, I don't see an F in there. And like...
I told you they
do
were
you know?
always... No,
do you know?
I have no idea.
I don't know
It's never
either.
been a question that's crossed my mind.
I thought about that recently.
Are you trying to advocate for furries being part of LGBTQ?
I'm not advocating for anything. Like, I'm not part of the LGBTQ, and like I'm just interested because like I don't know, because furries is like
Zach's a furry.
No,
you heard it here first. He's a furry.
Is LGBTQ like? Is it a sexual thing? Is it like, I don't know how? I want to know.
All right.
more
On that
about-
note, if you like what you heard, guys, make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you want to talk about something specific.
Put it in the comments. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We're out, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.